Considering you work with marketing data and it's your business, where do you see we're going with marketing data and measuring the overall impact of marketing?
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now around measurement within marketing, and there's a lot of challenges as well. And I think these are some of the major ones that we see. I'll give you 4 major challenges that we see right now. So obviously cookies, number one, that's been the foundation upon which a lot of marketing measurement online has been built upon. Third-party cookies are going away, so you just need to completely rethink how you measure. It's like we spoke about earlier with strategy. This is a change. It's time to rethink what you're doing from a measurement perspective. Tracking is another one. Obviously, there's an increased focus on privacy, which is a good thing. I think the internet was a complete Wild West when it launched. There was no regulation. You could basically see what anyone was doing if you wanted, and it was terrible. So now that we've got better privacy laws in place, it also then is something that you need to work around and think about as well. So that's happening. And then we're also using more technology than ever before. You've probably seen Scott Brinker's MarTech 5000 landscape, and each year it's bigger and bigger. And I think there's over 10,000 different MarTech tools. More technology means more data sources, and more data sources means more marketing data. So you have even more data to work with. But then the other challenge is that of data ownership. So this large amount of data that we generate does have a best before date, particularly in certain platforms that you only have access to a certain amount of historical data. And if you want to look back at historical performance, if you want to do any form of benchmarking, if you want to use more complex models which rely on larger data sets in order to work, then you need to take ownership of your historical data. One example happening right now is the sunsetting of Universal Analytics in Google Analytics and the shift to GA4. So if you want to keep access to all your historical Google Analytics data, you need to somehow centralize it and take ownership of it before it disappears, and then you would make the switch over to GA4 or an alternative depending on what your plans are there. So those are some of the challenges happening right now, and so what you kind of need to do is look at a few different things. I think what we're seeing is first-party data strategy as an objective for marketing teams, which is really about taking ownership of your marketing data, bringing it from all your different sources together in one centralized space. Typically that takes the form of a marketing data warehouse. Strong data governance is then the next one. So making sure that you adhere to like good data practices. One of our sales engineering has a bit of a mantra of crap in, crap out. If you have really crap data, you're going to get really crap data coming out of it, and then you're going to make decisions which are probably going to be crap because you're just making it based on the wrong data or inaccurate data, which is not reflecting reality. So having strong data governance is key, and looking at data on different levels, and we like to think of it on a kind of small picture or a big picture level. So we call this zoomed in data versus zoomed out data. So zoomed in is really about using data to understand specific micro events, certain marketing activities. It could be email send outs, it could be a specific campaign that you've run. And here spreadsheets, dashboards are really good ways to follow that performance. So for example, our full funnel brand test would have fitted quite nicely into this. It was a very isolated event. We could see the impact, and we had our reports, and we could go and show this to the CEO, to the CFO, to the management team. And all of a sudden with data, marketing leadership can have very objective discussions with CFOs and CEOs, which is typically the kind of people they are. So this sort of zoomed in little picture data is one thing you need to look at. And then on the flip side, you also need to do zoomed out. So this is really taking a step back and understanding how your marketing as a whole is performing. So looking at efficiency or profitability of different marketing strategies, or it could be a sort of combined marketing efficiency performance. So combined CAC LTV, for example, over a longer time period. And here you need centralized data and centralized tools to be able to answer that. So this is the big picture piece. And I know that we speak a lot about attribution, and that's been the go-to model for measuring marketing performance, particularly in B2B. But attribution has so many limitations, particularly now as we're seeing crackdown on cookies and tracking and pixels. Like cookies and pixels were like the bread and butter of marketing measurement, and we don't have cookies, we don't really have pixels. So, and you'll never be able to track every touch point on a journey, but it is very useful for, I think, understanding what's happening on a small scale. If you're doing specific email send outs, you can really track that. With a full funnel brand test, you could use some form of attribution to track the steps down that journey. So it works. And I think combining it with things like self-reported attribution, which is where people actually just say how they found you and how they heard about you, whether it's captured on a form or through discussions with opportunities in the sales process, and then the sales team will put that into Salesforce, and you have, again, data governance comes back to this. How do you manage that? So that's also a good way to kind of overcome the limitations of attribution. So I think these are some of the things that you should be thinking about, and how you can show impact with data and what's happening right now in this field in terms of marketing measurement and showing the impact of marketing.
Hi, this is Saya from the Growth Hub podcast. If you want to hear more, you can listen to the full episode on your preferred podcast platform.